and bring back what footage you have, and then we can build on that even more and see the progression. So now I'm going to hand over to Kate, and we're going to talk a bit more about the responsibilities of storytelling.
Do you think that's actually an important part of making a film, your awareness of the camera, the awareness of kind of your colleagues as well? I mean, that's a really important learning curve when there's multiple people taking videos. I kind of thought that we really need to kind of talk about the responsibility of yourselves as storytellers to an audience of vulnerable people. So what we say in photography is that there's more than one person in every picture and everything that you see. So like with a book, you have your author, but you also have your reader, and that reader brings their own perspective. So in the same in photography and in film, you have the person in the picture and you also have the person viewing it. And of course that also means that somebody took the picture or made the video or wrote the book, so you have that person as well. So we always say that there's three people. So we have a photographer, or videographer, the subject and the viewer. And all three of those have different responsibilities in this kind of space. But we kind of talk a lot about the responsibilities and the power relationship between those three people. The photographer or the storyteller cannot control what the viewer will then bring to the image or to the story. Obviously the storyteller does have that decision making to have, so that they choose exactly what they want to video. So there's reasons why you have selected that framing. Why have you chosen to exclude some things? Why have you included parts of other things to be in your shot? All of these things are super important for storytelling, but it's not something that we always kind of think about when we go out. We never really know who's the most powerful, but we've always kind of said that the weakest person is the person in the picture or in the story, because you are putting the responsibility of somebody else to tell your story for you. You kind of said, I would like you to take my picture, I'd like you to video me, or like you to write about me. And that's a huge responsibility to give to somebody else. And it makes you very vulnerable, because they could say anything, or they could take a picture of you in very different ways, and that could make a viewer think very differently about you. So you're absolutely right. We always say that the person in the picture, in the story, could be potentially the weakest. Considered about that, and we've got to be really careful about how we tell their stories as storytellers. We don't want to make them look more vulnerable. We don't want them to feel not empowered to tell their story. So it's about really having that collaboration. It's really important that you set the scene. Then you introduce your characters, and then you introduce them all the details and the nuances that make the story really interesting. So like the research, there's a research part of this. There's films. I mean, you can have really beautiful images of people handling like the DVD or whatever it is, or how they're playing it. It's all these subtleties that are, can really help build a narrative and really kind of connect your viewer with the audience, the viewer with. Is a photographer. He's called Ed Kashi, and he uses stills as well quite a lot, but can you see he's like setting the scene. He uses black and white, which isn't necessary, but so now he's introducing kind of the characters. You can see it's an agricultural land, you can see that they're sheep herders, and then he introduces kind of more people into the story. And he actually, why I chose this is because they're doing interviews, which is something I'm aware that you are all doing. It's just super important that you kind of be really careful about your positioning for the camera. I mean, these interviews are very kind of standard talking heads. You have the sort of person usually just off center, and you can kind of see a little bit behind them, and they're usually super in focus. But you're at the same eye level as them. I mean, how would you would not want to put somebody who is vulnerable, and you wouldn't want them to be put below the camera, because the viewpoint then means that people are looking down at that person. You don't want the viewer to look down at them, you don't want the photographer to look down at them, you don't want them to look like they're vulnerable. You want them to feel just as empowered as the person seeing them. And she was. So it's kind of really think about kind of how you approach your subjects, making sure that they feel just as comfortable talking to you about their stories, and that they feel like they can trust you with them.